Okay, so here we'll talk about how to use Figma to get some uniformity in the images we're using for the site. Some images you might remember from our blogs are differently proportioned, and it can make reading a little bit of an obnoxious task. And what we're going to do here is work on getting these images down to size and proportion so that things are a little bit more attractive on the web page. And to do that, we'll start by just working with frames. Any frame is basically a rectangle that has a fill, something you can fill with color like white, which is a hex code FFFFF, or an image like an image from your blog. I'm going to just choose a random one. We'll just choose the main image from your blog. Here it is. Now, by default, the fill of an image will fill the entire frame and possibly crop off extra. Here, this image happens to be 1600 by 1200. No, actually, it's close to 1600 by 1200, but there's a little bit of runoff. If you'll notice here, if I shrink this up or shrink it down, it actually can run a little bit outside. That's fill. Fill will completely fill up the rectangle or frame and possibly leave runoff. If you choose fit, fit will make sure that it doesn't go past the height or past the width, but if it's too narrow to fill the entire frame, it won't cover the entire width. For example, this picture is now 1200 tall, but it is not 1600 wide. It is only 1438.33 pixels wide. In order to get this to be the proper dimension, we'd want to use fill, and then we'd want to check crop to make sure any of the stuff that's being cut off the sides, which it looks like is just basic blue space, that we don't need any of that. You can always drag to recenter or reproportion things if you want, but generally speaking, that's fill. Now, there are some images here that we want to use that are way big, and when you use fill, it crops ugly stuff off. Like, for example, this woman has no forehead now. You can always go to crop and move things around so that she has some more of a forehead, and we still keep Don Draper's chin in the frame. That's crop. You can also fit here, and what it'll do is make sure that it doesn't overflow the frame in any way. This has maxed out its height at 1200, and since it's so narrow, it won't fill the entire width of 1600, but you can always go back to fill, and you can crop, and you can get it to where it looks halfway decent. Last thing to do is to export your images. They are currently named just by their frame size, 1600 by 1200. If you hit Control R, you can rename. I'm going to rename that to meme, and now I'm going to export it. You can export as a PNG, JPEG, SVG, or PDF. PNG is the best, and then you just go ahead and click export, and it will show up in your downloads. And then you've got a 1600 by 1200 image of the image you were trying to put in your blog. And that's basically it.